Welcome back. So in today's video, we're going to be doing something a little different, and this is why I wanted to bring it up real quick. In last video, we did 3 live duels, with my commentary and everything, showing off what the decks could do. Well, in this video today, I decided it would be a little interesting idea to have replays instead of me doing the live duels. If this is what you like, please let me know in the comments. If you don't like it, let me know, and I'll go back to the, the live duels. This is still me playing. I'm just going to be, saving them and showing the replays of what happened. And I might even do a few edits here and there to try making it funnier. So if you do enjoy this type of video, please let me know. If you don't care for it, let me know as well. Just let me know down in the comments. And other than that, let's get on to the video. Hello, welcome back. So in today's video, we are playing Krawlers. Now, before we talk about the deck and all the different combos and things like that, let's get into the profile. So, to start things off, we run 2 Deus Ex Krawler. We run 2 Krawler Dendrite, 2 Krawler Ranavir, 3 Krawler Receptor, 3 Krawler Golial, 3 Krawler Axon, 3 Krawler Spine. Now in the spells, we run 3 World Legacy Survivor, 3 Wormbait, 1 Terraforming, 3 World Legacy and Shadow, 3 World Legacy's Mind Meld, 2 Bottomless Trap Hole, 3 Lost Wind, 1 Crusadia Krawler, and 3 World Legacy Pawns. In the extra deck, we run 1 The Phantom Knights of Cursed Javelin, 1 Borreload Dragon, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Subterror Behemoth Fiendus, 3 X-Krawler Qualiarch, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 2 X-Krawler Nuragos. I don't know how to really pronounce that. I really don't know how to pronounce this one. X-Krawler Sanafis? Sanaphysis? I can't spell anything on this. I can't pronounce that, honestly. 1 Mrs. Radiant, and 2 Insector Picafalina. I hope that I pronounced that one out as well. I'm having a hard time pronouncing things today. That was the deck list. Now, the total price for all this stuff, including shipping and everything like that, off of TCG Player, do remember these prices aren't exactly set in stone, because as you do know, prices tend to differ depending on who you're buying from, things like that. But we were buying from TCG Player, and the total was $24.97. Now this deck would have been cheaper, but since I hit to the point where I had a lot of room, I decided to kind of get a few more stronger cards in here. As you can see, I did add Borreload Dragon. He's a niche play if you can pull off 4 and you don't really want to go into the Krawler boss monsters. You can go into him if you need to get rid of cards, Nightmare Unicorn, and spell cards, Nightmare Phoenix. Not to mention you can co-link them because of these two. This one also co-link because, well, this one can also be co-linked as well. Which they all gain effects, all except for, Borreload. Yeah. So, in this deck, Krawlers, I do want to state this at first. Krawlers are, well, a flip archetype. And flip monsters tend not to find their way into the meta, except for sometimes. We do see them sometimes, especially in the case of, like, Shaddoll's, but they are mainly used for the fusion monsters, and Subterror Guru. Well, Krawlers, well, aren't really as consistent as they are. That's why they don't really see much play, and the fact that a lot of their cards aren't really as explosive as theirs. See, Krawlers have a lot more subtlety. They start out extremely slow, but as time goes on, that's when they start to make a play and start actually showing what they can pull off. So if you're an opponent, you tend to try hitting them hard at the beginning, because if they live for too long, they're just going to ruin everything that you're trying to do. Now, one of the main cards that actually facilitates the Krawler playstyle nowadays is Deus Ex Krawler. Now, for starters, he does have to be flip face up to be able to gain his second effect. But his first effect, let's say if someone tries to target it to get rid of him while he's face down, you can immediately use his effect as a quick effect, flip him face up, and negate the activation and destroy that card. After he's flipped face up, he basically negates the activation of all monster effects that are on the field. Not yours, but your opponent's. And if he's destroyed by battle, you can add one level 9 monster with an original type and attribute than this card. Or with a different original type, I'm sorry. Now, that effect itself doesn't come off that much, but you can use it. It just doesn't pop off much. You can use that mainly if you're adding, I don't know, like generators into this deck for some odd reason, or if you're running maybe some, I don't know, True Kings, but I wouldn't know why you would do that. There is an Earth True King, I just wouldn't recommend it. But those first two effects are pretty great in this deck. Now, level 9 is actually surprisingly easily summonable in this deck. There are many ways to do it. For starters, all the level 2 Krawler monsters all have the effect that when they're gotten rid of, they spawn 2 more Krawlers out on the field. Now they both have to be different names, but it's still 2 Krawlers. And it doesn't matter what level, meaning you can just summon one of him and whatever else you want. I usually recommend Spine. Now they all get set face down. Now there are ways to facilitate that. One, if your opponent activates any card effect to get rid of them, they pop off their effect. You have another one, which is one of their archetypal trap cards, World Legacy's Mind Meld, which, if your opponent activates an effect, I'm pretty sure it's just any effect, right? Let me just check. No, it has to be monster effect. Okay. Well, basically, if your opponent activates a monster effect, it just changes it to bounce one monster you control to your hand. So it makes your opponent have to bounce a Krawler to your hand, thus activating the Krawler's effect to swarm the field with 2 more. Honestly, a pretty great effect to have. Now, Bottomless Trap Hole obviously just banishes any monster with 1500 or more attack. It has to destroy first, though, so it's niche. You can replace it if you wish. Lost Wind, I use it. It's just a free negation for anything that's high level, and that does come in really handy, especially against players who just summon out the extra deck like crazy and kind of need their extra deck. Now, one of the second heart and soul of this deck, one of the second cards that makes this deck work extremely well, is World Legacy and Shadow. And it's all because it gives 300 attack and defense to the Krawlers. Like, seriously, how can you beat that? Okay, yeah, I'm kind of joking here, but honestly, it does actually come out. It helped me out somewhat. Surprisingly, that 300 attack did help me. But what actually does make it better is the fact that it special summons 1 level 2 or lower insect monster from your hand in face up or face down defense position, which helps you out with your board setup. And when a flip monster is destroyed by battle, by an opponent's monster, you can just send that opponent's monster to the graveyard. Pretty much making it so, well, you can get around almost anything big. There are a few times you can, if you're going against a monster who, well, just can't be destroyed or anything by card effects. It hurts sometimes to do this, but I've had those moments where I just placed a Spine or whatever I had and just smacked in my opponent's monster. And I would take a whole bunch of damage, but I got rid of it. It works out. Now, there are some other good cards. World Legacy Pawns, he's a great card because basically it helps basically control the board slightly. It's not amazingly great, but it does control the board. If you have like Spine and World Legacy Pawns, you can use this to flip this card face up and basically allow you to destroy a monster on the field. They're all pretty good. Wormbait is a staple for this deck. Basically, you use this, you summon 2 worm tokens, you have to already control a insect type monster, and that just gives you a free Krawler. One thing you can do is if you have, like, let's say you want to go into Qualiarch, normal summon, use worm bait, use the 2 worm baits go into one of these 2, and then go into Qualiarch with the other 2. Really good, helps out a lot. I tend not to do that combo, but if you wish, it would help. Or if you already have Qualiarch on the field, just use worm bait and go into a free second link or into another Qualiarch. Crusader Krawler is one that I actually do enjoy. This is a World Legacy searcher for your deck. Any World Legacy card you can just search. All he has to do is just be special summoned to a zone a link monster points to. Krawler one, I think it is. Nope, just a link monster, and it just searches World Legacy. So under him, you just can get Shadow, you can get your Survivor, Pawns, you can get Mind Meld. It's just an all-around good searcher. It's not more than 1. I wouldn't recommend more than 1. If you do, it helps. It's an extra Krawler. You know, if you want to run 3 or 2, you can. It'll just be an extra Krawler. Spine, as I already said, destroys 1 monster. Axon destroys 1 spell and trap. These are both really good effects and are mainly used to control the battlefield. This one is a second way you can get out your Deus Ex. It special summons from either hand or graveyard in face down defense position or in face up attack position. This one is your searcher. He just adds any Krawler. This one just adds up to 2 back to your hand. This can always be helpful. I wouldn't recommend maxing out on it, but it does help every once in a while. Dendrite, I wouldn't recommend either maxing out on, because all it does is send 1 monster from deck to grave, unless you really want unless you have a lot of ways to get your monsters out of your grave. I wouldn't recommend it, because honestly, this deck doesn't need too much grave setup. And Deus Ex Krawler you can run at 2. I've seen some people run it at 1. Mainly because if you're playing this card, well, you're most likely always going to play this card, but he's always basically live. He is extremely easy to summon out. Not hard at all. Now, another cool thing, the actual Krawler Link monsters aren't that great. Krawler, this one just gives 300 attack if he's destroyed. He just special summons 2 more. If he's destroyed by an opponent's card effect, special summons 2 out of your graveyard in defense position. Right? Yeah, face down. This one does the same thing, but if I remember correctly, if it just leaves the field, no, it has to also be from card effect. Okay, so basically, Krawlers just, if they leave by Krawler effect, even their Link monsters, they special summons more Krawlers. This is just an added buff, basically. You can use Worm Bait to summon out Mrs. Radiant, just more attack. This one just destroys spell and trap cards if you discard one. This is a way to get over big monsters if you can't destroy them. And this one as well is just a way to get over big monsters. This one's a little bit more easier to summon though. You just detach one, turn it to 0 attack, it negates its effects, and you can just basically attack over it. And this one, if you are literally, this is why I added this card, if you are in a moment where the game is lasting way too long, and sometimes this happens, you can go into this card, your Insector Piccofelina, and it will save your butt. Because what it does, its effect basically allows you to shuffle 3 back into the deck of insect monsters and then draw 1 card. It just allows you to recur and make sure your graveyard isn't just going to be filled up. And I enjoy that too, because every once in a while it does happen. So, that was the deck profile. Let's get on to the duels.
Fogos dead!
Hello! Welcome back from the replays. So, there are some things I forgot to talk about. For starters, I forgot to say this, but I wanted to say thank you once again to Zaniva. Zaniva, he is the Krawler man. At least, he was the guy who played Crawlers, and I did kinda ask him for a lot of help when it came to building this deck, and thought of a few little cool ideas with him that were pretty cool. Sorry, I just moved something, and I don't know if you heard that. But he did help me kinda figure out what I can add to this. 2. I forgot to tell you what Qualiarch and all the other ones did for their specials, basically, like their little added flavor that they add to the thing other than just special summoning 2 Crawlers from the graveyard when they're gone. For starters, I also forgot to say, face-up cards this card points to cannot be destroyed by battle, or if this face-up card is destroyed by battle or leaves the field by any card, they just special summon 2 Crawlers. In the beginning, I did say that it was only by card effects. No, the Crawlers, the level 2 Crawlers, if they're destroyed by card effects, then they pop off. These ones special summon from the deck. These ones only special summon from the graveyard, and only work, and can work if they're destroyed by battle or leave the field by a card effect. So if they just leave, basically, 2 free Crawlers from grave. This one, basically, gains 300. Monsters it points to cannot be destroyed by battle, and can make 2 attacks on your opponent's monsters during each battle phase. This one, first effect same, cannot be destroyed by battle, gain 300 attack, but if it battled an opponent's monster, any battle damage they inflict to your opponent is doubled. And Qualiarch, which is, sorry about that if you heard that was my air freshener going off. Qualiarch is the butter of this deck, basically. If there's 2 or more, all monsters you control gain 300. 4 or more, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated during the battle phase, and 6 or more, your monsters cannot be attacked, or your monsters can attack directly. What that means is, and I should have said this at the beginning, it's based on the number of Crawlers you have in the field. So if you have 6 Crawlers on the field, everyone can just attack directly. Surprisingly, I was actually able to pull that off on one of the battles. And during this one, And during the battle phase, that one also popped off, which I realized afterwards that why they couldn't use their, what was it, their trap card that just banishes everything evenly matched. Alright, now other than that, let's get on to what you could possibly add to make this deck better. For starters, I thought about Burst Rebirth. It's a monster reborn for flip monsters, pay 2,000, target one monster, set it, special summon it in face down defense. Basically just a monster reborn for flip. Just anything really. Spider Egg. Sorry about that. Spider Egg, when your opponent attacks directly, while you have 3 or more insects in your graveyard, negate the attack, special summon 3 tokens. Kind of self-explanatory, gives you more link plays, things like that. Goes in match. Each player can only control one attribute of monsters. Send all the other face-ups they control to the graveyard. Since you're only playing Earth, and if you're just going out just to get out the Qualiarchs and the other Crawlers Link monsters, you only have Earth monsters. If your opponent, I would say side it, but if your opponent isn't running a whole bunch, or is running a whole bunch of varied attributes, side it in, and it could be a good surprise. Dark Hole, this is another option I would say for siding. It's just a good turn 2. If your opponent has a board that you can't get over, just use Dark Hole. It just destroys all monsters. Verdant Sanctuary, if a card is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, add 1 insect with the same level as the destroyed monster. Just recursion, just keeps adding cards. Multiplication of Ants, tribute 1 insect monster on the field, special summon 2 insects. Once again, sort of just like Spider Egg, just adds more token fodder. Cocoon of Ultra Evolution, you tribute 1 insect monster on the field, equipped with an equip card, basically, and special summons a monster ignoring summoning condition. During the main phase, you can also banish this card from the graveyard, target 1 insect in your graveyard, shuffle into the deck, draw 1. That's really good, and you use that with Parasite Paranoid. This card is a quick effect, basically like a hand trap. Target 1 face-up monster on the field, equip it with this card, the equipped monster becomes an insect, cannot attack other insect monsters. Also, the effects of the activated monster targeting an insect monster, so if they're targeting, let's say, another insect, they are negated. I would say you could try running that, I don't know. Parasite Paranoid, also when he leaves the field and is sent to the graveyard, special summon 1 level 7 or higher insect from your hand, ignoring summoning conditions. Now, when I was first playing this deck, I actually was running the Parasite Paranoid and Cocoon of Ultra Evolution at 3. You don't need them, as I just showed, you don't really need these two, but they were a fun little niche option just to get rid of anything. Now, I was originally running it with Metamorphosized Insect Queen, which is really good protection. Basically, other monsters, or your opponent cannot target insect-type monsters you control with card effects, nor can they be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And it's just all insects, including her. And at the end of the damage step, if this card attacked, tribute 1 monster, attack again, and during end phase, token spam. Or one token. Honestly, this goes against the deck. This is why I cut it. This card goes against what crawlers want. Unless you have a field of link monsters, aka the crawler links, you don't want this card on the field. You want to let your opponent blow up your crawlers, that way you can keep gaining more advantage. Well, if you do want to run that package though, may I bring you to Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth? Yeah, it's really old school. It's not really that great of a monster, but if you do want to run it, it gives you an added beat stick, and gets rid of an opponent's monster. And if you have 2 in your hand, well, you just bring out 2. Pretty simple. Really good. And yeah, I know it does say cannot be special summoned by other ways, or must first be special summoned from your hand by attributing 1, but these 2 actually go around it. Doomdozer, banish 2 insects, special summon this card. If it inflicts battle damage, send the top card of your opponent's deck to the graveyard. This is just mainly a added swarm factor. If you have cards in your graveyard, you can bring it out for free. And it's still an insect earth. It helps out. Another card you can add is Kaiju. Ghidorah, obviously, the reason why you run Kaiju is you don't care about their effects. The only effect you care about is the fact that it can just tribute a monster on the field in general. Using this card, you can just tribute one of your opponent's monsters, aka if they have like something like Dragoon or something that's really broken and you can't do anything to, just use this, tribute over it, it's gone. And then you could just deal with it with like a spine or something. This card's basically, or the Worm Warrior, I can't pronounce that name, I'm going to try. Azatecpede, I can't pronounce that, okay. Basically, banish one insect. It's just a weaker form of Doomdozer. Banishing one insect, special summon it, same last effect, just send the top card. Danger Mothman is just draw power. If it's discard, or you get to reveal it, your opponent and shuffle your hand. If your opponent chooses at random, if it's special summon, draw one. If it's discarded, draw one and then discard one. Just good recursion. Or good, consistency boosting. And then Beatron. Send one face of spell trap, target one level 4, special summon from your grave and defense. You can only use this effect once per turn. This, I'm going to say it. These three, you can add to this deck. I would say run these two, but you're better off just running pure crawlers. If you want to do a rank 4 engine, go ahead. And I have seen people do it. Yeah, surprisingly I have. And I've seen some niche success in it. I haven't seen a lot of it, but I've seen some people pull it off. They'll usually be running like a 60 card variant, but that isn't really a bright idea. I would never recommend 60 card variants unless you're playing Lightsworn, because it just really hampers on the consistency. And if you do want to go Beatron, go ahead. It's just a rank 4 engine. You can always do that. But for any other card you can add, honestly, if you have like Solemn cards, it's like Solemn Judgment, Solemn Strike, you can get rid of these for those. Basically, any trap that stuns, infinite impermanence, things like that. If you don't have certain cards and you don't want to buy these or something like that, you can always switch certain cards out for just stun cards. Anything that stuns helps out crawlers. There's that Appaloosa trap that's basically the same thing as this one that just goes in the extra deck. The reason why I didn't add that only affects extra deck monsters. The reason why I didn't add that is because it was like $11 or something. So it would have brought me way over my price range. Air freshener again. Other than that, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day. See ya.